chapter 42. Behold my servant, whom I uphold, mine elect, in whom my soul delighteth. I have put my spirit upon him. He shall make the right to go forth to the nations. He shall not cry, nor lift up, nor cause his voice to be heard in the street. A bruised reed shall he not break, and the dimly burning wick shall he not quench. He shall make the right to go forth according to the truth. He shall not fail nor be crushed, till he have set right in the earth, and the isles shall wait for his teaching. Thus saith God the Lord, He that created the heavens and stretched them forth, He that spread forth the earth, that which cometh out of it, He that giveth breath unto the people upon it, and the spirit to them that walk therein. I, the Lord, have called you in righteousness, and I have taken hold of your hand, and kept you, and set you for a covenant of the people, for a light of the nations, to open the blind eyes, to bring out the prisoners from the dungeon, and them that sit in darkness out of the prison house. I am the Lord, that is my name, and my glory I will not give to another, neither my praise to graven images. Behold, the former things are come to pass, and new things do I declare. Before they spring forth, I tell you of them. Sing unto the Lord a new song, and his praise from the end of the earth, you that go down to the sea, and all that is therein, and the isles, and the inhabitants thereof. Let the wilderness and the cities thereof lift up their voice. The villages that Kedar doth inhabit, let the inhabitants of Salah exalt. Let them shout from the top of the mountains. Let them give glory unto the Lord, and declare his praise in the islands. The Lord will go forth as a mighty man. He will stir up jealousy like a man of war. He will cry, yes, he will shout aloud. He will prove himself mighty against his enemies. I have long time held my peace. I have been still and refrained myself. Now will I cry like a travailing woman, gasping and panting at once. I will make waste mountains and hills, and dry up their herbs. And I will make the rivers islands, and will dry up the pools. And I will bring the blind by a way they knew not. In paths that they knew not will I lead them. I will make darkness light before them, and rugged places plain. These things will I do, and I will not leave them undone. They shall be turned back, greatly ashamed that trust in graven images, that say unto molten images, you are our gods. Hear, you deaf, and look, you blind, that you may see. Who is blind but my servant, or deaf as my messenger that I send? Who is blind as he that is wholehearted, and blind as the Lord's servant? Seeing many things you observest not, opening the ears he heareth not. The Lord was pleased for his righteousness' sake, to make the teaching great and right glorious. But this is a people robbed and spoiled. They are all of them snared in holes, and they are hid in prison houses. They are all for prey, and none delivers, for a spoil, and none says, restore. Who among you will give ear to this? Who will hearken and hear for the time to come? Who gave Jacob for a spoil, and Israel to the robbers? Did not the Lord? He against whom we have sinned, and in whose ways they would not walk, neither were they obedient unto his law. Therefore he poured upon him the fury of his anger, and the strength of battle, and it set him on fire round about, yet he knew not, and it burned him, yet he laid it not to heart. Okay, let's go back up to verse 1. Now we remember yesterday, God had something to say. He told everybody to keep quiet while he said it, and he was proclaiming now that God, he is the first and last. There is no other. He is the beginning. He is the end. These things are controlled by God. God controls the spirit of men. And we see that God caused this spirit to come into man, and they did. Every man help his neighbor in good courage. And the carpenter encouraged the goldsmith, the one who steals that which belongs to God. And they did make them an idol. And this is that understanding. But now, Israel is a witness to this. Israel is a witness. These nations and all these that God has chosen to witness this. See, that this is the work of God. This is how God does things. God works in judgment. They are a witness, and they are the servant that God has truly chosen. But we're going to find that God has many servants, and either way you serve the Lord, whether you serve the Lord for judgment in the earth, or whether you serve the Lord for the blessings that are in the earth. But these that God has chose to do the blessing, they are oppressed by those that are in judgment against God, because those that they go forth, and this is how this judgment works. They are the form of a lie, a form of to take away your understanding. And that's why we find that God has to intervene. God has to, and he did a marvelous and great work, even telling us of exactly how it would be done in the end time. And we find out that this servant of God's is those that are in confusion. They are those ones that are even serving in judgment. They are going to become a great witness in the end, even to Israel, these ones that are going to make themselves obedient to the law of God, because this is the whole problem from the beginning. Verse 1, Behold my servant whom I uphold, mine elect in whom my soul delights. I have put my spirit upon him. He shall make the right to go forth to the nations. And we can just check this word right out. This word should be judgment. He shall make the judgment to go forth to the nations. My spirit upon him, the spirit of judgment that God has even sent into the earth. He's been telling us of it the whole time. This was the purpose of it. See, this is the one God's taken delight in, because why? We're going to find, and we already know, they've turned from the law of God and do error. So God has sent judgment into the earth. There's nothing changed. It's the same way today. 2, He shall not cry, nor lift up, nor cause his voice to be heard in the street. And this is a similitude. He's not going to go around preaching. He's not going to go around teaching all this. Why? Well, he goes around, we're going to see, in darkness and in ignorance, making an example of himself. See that he is in darkness. He is in ignorance. He worships idols. He worships these things made of man. He breaks all the law of God, every commandment there was. 3, A bruised reed he shall not break, and the dimly burning wick he shall not quench. He shall make the right to go forth according to the truth. And once again, he shall make the judgment to go forth according to the truth. He's going to show you there's a judgment in the earth that comes. There's a recompense. There's a consequence. Just like God's been teaching about Asher. He sent Asher to do the same thing. Asher, this altar there. God said, you shall not make yourself an altar. You shall not do this. But this bruised reed, this that is damaged, he shall not break it. Why? He's going to go around by example. He thinks he's doing good in the earth, but we're going to find out, see, it's a judgment sent by God, and that's what's made it so great and so mighty to God, because it's all done with a sweet cake. This burning wick, he shall not quench, he shall not extinguish it. It's going to smolder. Why? It's a light. We're going to find out this is a light. This is an example that God has made. 4, He shall not fail nor be crushed till he has set the right in the earth, and the isles shall wait for his teachings. He shall not fail nor be crushed. It's not going to be stopped. It's going to continue until he has set, once again, judgment in the earth. Until this judgment has been set, till all the people have come under this judgment. We're going to find out even many generations now, even going to the fire. Thus saith God the Lord, he that created the heavens and stretched them forth, he that spread forth the earth and that which cometh out of it, he that giveth breath unto the people upon it, and the spirit to them that walk therein. This is what God's got to say. God, we're going to find out, God has done this. God worked this. Men don't control these things. God does. 6, I, the Lord, have called you in righteousness, and that have taken hold of your hand, and kept you, and set you for a covenant of the people, for a light of the nations. I, the Lord, God says, have called you in justice and judgment, and take a hold of your hand. God has led you in your work, kept you, and set you for an alliance. This covenant, this is agreement, this is a covenant, even something the people are going to make, for a light of the nations. even like a candle. So, and we find that this was the end sign that God said, I'm going to set this up, and all the nations are going to come to it, even this end sign of the end. God done this work. We're going to find that out. 7, to open the blind eyes, to bring out of the prisoners from the dungeon, and them that sit in darkness out of the prison house. And who are these? These are the ones that have went astray. These ones that are blind, they don't see. They have no vision, no understanding. They're like a prisoner in a dungeon being taken in these false understandings. Them that sit in darkness, it is darkness around them. There's no light of God. They don't have no understanding. Because they have not made themselves obedient to the law. To bring these out of the prison house. These ones that have been taken away, led away even, to the prison. But this is an example that's going to be made to show now that He is God. He does these things. He declares these things, then He does them, that you might see, that you might hear, that you might have understanding and come forth even from this prison. 8, I am the Lord, that is my name, and my glory I will not give to another, neither my praise to graven images. There's nothing hard to understand. He is God. That is His name, and His glory, His greatness. He will not give to another. He will not give to another. Neither His praise to graven images, these things that men have made. This pillar even that they've set up. God's not going to give His praise to another. There's nothing hard to understand about that. All glory belongs to God. He has worked all this in the earth. 9, behold, the former things are come to pass, and new things do I declare before they spring forth. I tell you of them. Already declaring it then, what would happen now, declaring it in the beginning, even the end of all things. And we have found out they don't consider this. 10, sing unto the Lord a new song, and His praise from the end of the earth. Yet you that go down to the sea, and all that is therein, the isles and the inhabitants thereof, sing a new song, make a new thing. God's going to cause every need to bow. God's going to show Himself mighty. God's going to show Himself glorious in the earth, just like He said He was going to do. He done this marvelous work. He puts the Spirit in men. He causes it. He moves like the water upon men. 11, let the wilderness and the cities thereof lift up their voice, the villages that Kedar doth inhabit. Let the inhabitants of Salah exalt. Let them shout from the top of the mountains. This wilderness, let the wilderness lift up their voice. This place where the words drive out. These cities, these men, where men guard. Let them lift up their voice. The villages of Kedar. Kedar is dark and gloominess. These villages that the darkness and gloominess inhabit. These are the places where men have took hold. These are the places where men do their teachings. Let the inhabitants of Salah exult. Salah was those we remember. Salah. The places, those crags, those crevices, even in the mountains, where God caused them to flee into. Let them shout from the top of the mountains. God caused you there. God brought you there. 12, let them give glory unto the Lord and declare His praise in the islands. These islands, all these isolated places, every little place, isolated or not, in this vast earth, this vast sea of understanding. 13, the Lord will go forth as a mighty man. He will stir up jealousy like a man of war. He will cry, yes, He will shout aloud. He will prove Himself mighty against His enemies. And who are His enemies? Those that have made war against God. Those that teach idolatry. Those that teach for gain. Those that have polluted now the table of justice and judgment. They've made war against God. But we're going to find out, see, God made an example of them in the end. 14, I a long time held my peace. I have been still and refrained myself. Now will I cry like a travailing woman, gasping and panting at once. Just like a woman bringing forth and giving birth, with all her strength even now, gasping and panting. But God's going to be swinging a sword, see. That's what he's going to be, swinging his sword of justice and his sword of judgment in the earth. 15, I will make waste mountains and hills and dry up all their herbs, and I will make the rivers islands and will dry up the pools. See, God caused it to be wet. God brought the water there. Now he'll dry it up. He will make waste these mountains and hills, these high places, these exalted places. Even these high places, they used to call them. And they'd set up there their abominations. God's going to bring it up. God's going to lay waste. God, he done has. He done has. He's made a great example, and he's going to use it now to open the blind's eyes. They'll see this image that man has made. God has done this. And I will bring the blind by a way that they knew not. In paths that they knew not will I lead them. I will make darkness light before them, and the rugged places plain. These things will I do, and I will not leave them undone. God will do these things. He will bring the blind by the way they knew not. With understanding they knew not. This is the darkness being made light. You thought you was under the light, under the lesser light. But when light comes, what of the lesser light now in the greatness of God? 17, they shall be turned back, greatly ashamed that trust in graven images, that say unto molten images, you are our gods. I can imagine so, falling down there, on your knees there. God caused you to do that. See, God brought you down. You were not obedient to the law of God. 18, hear you deaf, and look, you blind, that you may see. You deaf, listen. You blind, look. It's right there in front of you. 19, who is blind but my servant, or deaf as my messenger that I send? Who is blind as he that is wholehearted, and blind as the Lord's servant? Because God's using him as example. Who's as blind as these? They got an image in front of them. They're shadowed from God. Who are as blind as those in darkness? Those that God has plugged the ear of. These ones that don't understand the truth. God said, you shall not do this thing. 20. Seeing many things you observest not, and opening the ears he heareth not. See, because he's being used as an example. All these things that he does, he sees it in the earth, and he doesn't understand. He doesn't obey the law of God. Opening the ears sure made me understand when I seen it. 21. The Lord was pleased for his righteousness' sake to make the teaching great and glorious. This is what pleased the Lord. God twisted that around. God done that. He turned it around. See, we know now, remember, the prophecies? He's turning it around because we're going to see here in the end of this chapter, he punished Israel, and they knew it not. See, they were burned, they knew it not. Then he done it to the nations so that the Israel could see. We're going to find out redemption's come. 22. But this is a people robbed and spoiled. They are all of them snared in holes, and they are hid in prison houses. They are for prey, and none delivers, for spoil, and none says restore. Now, these are the ones that are taken in this. These are the ones that are being used as this example in the earth. They're serving God as judgment. They're setting judgment in the earth even. We can see these things. God has opened our eyes. We see these people. They're robbed and spoiled. They're taken advantage. They're snared in holes by the traps and mouths of men, hid in these prison houses, taken in unto the prison master even. Therefore pray, none delivers them. For a spoil, and none says restore. 23. Who among you will give ear to this? Who will hearken and hear for a time to come? Who can understand this? Who will listen? Who will come to this understanding and know that the strength and power of God is in the earth? Behold the sign he said he would give, even that which he said he would do, he has done. 24. Who gave Jacob for a spoil and Israel to the robbers? Did not the Lord? He against whom we have sinned, in whose ways they would not walk, neither were they obedient unto his law. Did God not punish him? Did he not declare it from the beginning? This is what I will do. They would not walk in his law. They would not be obedient. He said, keep it for your own good. They would not hearken. 25. Therefore he poured upon him the fury of his anger and the strength of battle, and set him on fire round about. Yet he knew not, and he burned him. Yet he laid it not to heart. He did not understand what God was doing, that God was punishing him. And the enemies came in, and they took over his city, and they took out his king, and they carried off their women and all the spoil. And they considered not this is a punishment from God, even though the prophets declared it constantly before them. Be obedient to the law of God, or this is that which he'll do. And they did not listen, and they still today err in the law of God. And they say, oh, but the Lord blesses us. We have made a covenant. You're going to be greatly ashamed when God breaks your covenant that you have made. When he opens your eyes and makes you understand God did this, not no image that men have made, that men have set up. God establishes kingdoms. God throws them down. God does what he wills upon the earth, and this is his great example of that. Okay, let's move on to chapter 43.